Pleasant good morning, one and all. Welcome to the Monday's episode of Speaking Out, exposing corruption and incompetence. Today, Monday, the third day of November 2025. Yes, we are into November, the penultimate month of the year. And they always tell you once you get to October, November, the year does gallop, just as Christmas is just around the corner. So welcome, one and all. Today, Monday, the first working day of the new week. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Hope you're looking forward to a productive week. Today is the day. Today is the day, Monday, the third day of November 2025. And you know what I'm talking about. Another great day. Today, Monday, is another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks to being in the land of the living. It is indeed a privilege to be in the land of the living, and we should never, ever take that for granted. Well, we tell you when you come on, share the life today, going to be hot like fire. Catch it and pepper. Today is going to be hot like fire. So you want to share, call them and tell them you're on. A lot of people got misled with the time change. I did notify you that there is the clock in the US got pushed back. So I indicated to you we're going to continue to work on the US New York Standard, Eastern Standard Time, New York time, right? 11 o'clock New York time, which is 12 o'clock Guyana time. And some people forgot. Some people calling me, want to know if the program wasn't scheduled, what is the issue, they're looking for it, and so on. And then some did apologize because they remember belatedly that I did inform them on Friday that the program will be 12 o'clock Guyana time today, 11 o'clock, the usual 11 o'clock New York or Eastern Standard Time. So here we are. So I think more than ever, you have a reason to make sure that you call them and tell them you're on. You notify a friend, share the live so that they know that we are on. We ain't giving up. We ain't running away. You need to know the credible, valuable information, and we're going to bring it to you. We are going to bring it to you. Again, I say today, the November the 3rd, a great day, another great day that the Lord has made. And all those of us who are in the land of the living must celebrate this privilege of being in the land of the living. I have good news. Well, you have a lot of things to tell you this morning, but I have good news to you. Good news is that my colleague, CC, is back in the studio. He's going to be with you. Many of you are asking, where is CC? You're batting alone. You're playing single wicket. Well, he is here today to share information and to give you credible, valuable information. So here we are. Today, as I said, Monday the 3rd. Today is the day when Parliament is supposed to convene at 2 o'clock this afternoon at the Arthur Chung Convention Center on the East Coast, 2 o'clock. A lot of things happen between, as you would have seen during the last program on Friday. We talked about in the political realm, Azadin Mohammed and his father arrested, put on bail. The people come out lashing out. We're going to go through all of those things this morning. We're going to go through all of those things this morning. So share the live, and let them know that we are on. As is customary, we're going to run through a brief roll call, acknowledging those who came in early, and then we're going to move straight into the announcements, and then we're gonna rock and roll. We're gonna rock and roll. Again, I say share. You want to make sure that all the students, nobody want to get this thing. I mean, the YouTube is there afterwards where you can go and you can see this episode when it is finished, as well as all the previous episodes, right? Today, this is the 114th episode for the year. And this is for 4 years and counting. So a lot of them there on YouTube. Go look at them in your own time. We have covered all issues. We have brought you all the credible, valuable information that you need to know. And today is not going to be any different. So in terms of people coming in, the program was, as I've said, gates open at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which will be 9 o'clock in Guyana. That will be it going forward on Monday and Wednesday. On Friday, you know the difference. Friday, we're going to continue to open the gate at 2 o'clock, which will be 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Guyana. And we're going to start the classes at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 5 p.m. in Guyana. It gives you more time to get home from work. The work normally finishes at 3:30. They get home, cock up, Somebody tell me the idea of going home to cock up and what you think from big TV. So yeah, you're gonna get that opportunity. Fridays going on. So when we open the gate, first morning, Danny. And again, I don't know why the names are displayed like this. You see at Ivan Daniel something something. Then you had Lucius displayed similarly. I don't know if it's an issue with YouTube. I don't know, because I understand on other programs it is displayed in the traditional manner. I really don't know if it's something I have to do. If anyone of you students who's tech savvy know what has to be done, if anything can be done, let me know. Let me know. Then Terrence was there, Sean, Leon. They all came at 8 o'clock. Felicia, Kenneth from Maryland, Grantley, Derek, Trotman, Rhonda, Chance, Wayne. This is Wayne from the UK. To Anthony, Bradshaw, Peters Hall. Then we have Brian, Kerry, Puran from the Essequibo Coast. This is for Ezzy here. Then we had Rosalind. Marlon is here very early. Desiree. This is who now? Barbara. Joan. Sean. Orin from the UK. Clifton from Paris. Courtney. Then the list goes on and on and on. And when we there's the first minute or so, and then when the doors were open a little while ago, let me see who's the first. I think I know who that body is normally is. No, this time it's Pam came in first. Then after Pam it was Matthew, then Joy, Simone, Altia, Marlene, Rhonda from Den Amstel. Then it was who? And it goes on like that. So yeah, those are the people who came first, and I wish to acknowledge their early presence in class. Share the live. We gone and give me a thumbs up. Well, we're closing in on 1,000 live, and we only get 20-something thumbs up. So give me a thumbs up. Now, in terms of the announcements, I announced that, we start with the sad ones first. I announced some time ago the death of the retired Detective Inspector Colbert Halley. 8952 was his regulation number, and he died on the 25th of October. And the funeral will be on the 9th of this month. They said viewing at his residence, Manchester, quarantine from 11 to 12. Then to the Myconi Methodist Church for service from 2 p.m. Burial at the nearby cemetery. That is what it is said. Then I learned, this morning, just before coming on here, about an hour ago, a death of a friend. Many of you may not know him, Derek Narayan. Derek used to be a prominent member of the Guyana National Rifle Association. We toured and shoot in competitions around the Caribbean. I remember he was part of the famous Guyana team in 2000. Team comprised of 8, the bare minimum. We scraped together the resources and we had to travel to Jamaica. Undoubtedly, we stayed at the Constabulary School in Twickenham Park, and we were successful in every category. 8 of us, we hadn't any reserve, anything like that. Derek was part of that team. I learned this morning that Derek died. I'll give you more information about that in some future program. And then this weekend, just past there, another deadly weekend in Guyana, deadly weekend. Road accidents, fatal accidents, and murders, and all of that. They're reporting there was a fatal accident on the Essequibo Coast. I think that might have been Saturday or Friday. Guy riding his motorcycle, the Pillen Rider. They claim, according to the initial report, cow ran across the road and he rode into the cow. The Pillen Rider fell. Pillen Rider died. Now, in reading the release, I saw the outline that is what took place, and then they said that the rider was in custody. And I question if they're saying that this man riding the motorcycle and a cow on the road and caused this accident and the Pillen Rider died. Why was he in custody? Has to be, I was suggesting that maybe he was unlicensed, maybe the motorcycle didn't get the correct documents, something. Well, I can't imagine that he would have been placed in custody because of the accident and not something else. So I don't know. They haven't been forthcoming with other news, but we had that one. And then we had the case where the motorcyclist on the East Coast, 17-year-old, think he has died. And here again, it is alleged that he served from running. He was riding his motorcycle, and two goat on the road. He swerved to avoid the goats into the path of a truck, and he was killed. When I said there are two goats, I said, hope it's not a goat who used to be in Breakdown. You know the goat I'm referring to? Even though this is a very serious matter, sometimes you got to add some humor into this thing to maintain your sanity. To maintain your sanity, right? So that is the thing. Road there, two of them. At least I understand. It might have been another one. I'm not sure. Motorcyclists. So both of these that or those that I'm returning about, animals on the road. We had one not so long ago on the quarantine where a pig. So it's all the animals, goat, pig, cow, everything on the road, and people dying. Everything on the road, people dying, right? So let me then what we had. They're reporting to a 17-year-old laborer of Blue Creek was murdered. He and some man had some altercation, he get killed. Then they're reporting this morning that some Isano man, 22, shot dead, right? Shot multiple times by two known individuals, right? That is this morning, that is being reported. That might have happened yesterday. Then they're reporting too that a Brazilian miner was fatally stabbed at Sunday Landing. Some story, man stab you and kill you. And then there's a murder at Belvedere being proved, Belvedere on the quarantine. So, all these killings, that is what is going on in this place. Really sad. I want to take this opportunity to express condolences to the relatives, friends of those people who were killed. Animal on the road. And that is why we continue to say that when we talk about the lawlessness on the roads in Guyana, it's not only about motorcyclists, it's not only about minibus drivers, it's not only about truck drivers, all categories. These animals, you want to tell me these animals don't have owners? They don't have owners? Are they going to see? Because next thing you know, you have cows and all this thing on the road. They ain't got no brand, so you can't trace the owners. They don't have any brand. So when something like this happens, nobody claiming it. Nobody going to claim it. And lives are lost because of this culture of lawlessness. And that is why we continue to advocate for a comprehensive review of the thing. Don't tell me about you're going and increase fine for dangerous driving and you bring in law. It ain't going to work. It is not going to work. You have to have a very comprehensive program to deal with this lawlessness, the carnage on the road. You come and you make us other piecemeal, us other band-aids, like if you're going to change. By now, have they not recognized that by now, that with all of these interventions, things getting worse? They have not recognized that. They don't have the common sense to recognize that you're changing law, you're bringing electronic tickets, and you're bringing body camera, you're bringing all these things. And has there been an improvement in the situation? You come when the bike died, you say, cut out the third lane. You wait until deaths before you see that was always a dangerous thing. You wait until people die, at least two that we know of, and then you come to do this thing. That is the thing, knee-jerk and reactive measures and so on. So condolences to those the relatives of those persons who died on the road. Now let me do the board days, and then I'm gonna come back. Invite Mr. Conway. Yes, he's with us today, and then we're gonna move on. I want to board day greetings today to a loyal student, a former member of the force. I'm referring to Raul Semple, 11752. He don't miss a program. He's a student, don't miss a class, right? So Raul is celebrating his birthday today. And I remember Raul very, very well. A young guy, when he came to TSU, I was there. We took him under our wings, me and Caffrey, 9112 trim, and he was doing exceedingly well. And he decided at some stage that he was going to be moving on. And then we have today, I noted Carlotta Walcott. Carlotta Walcott is observing a birth anniversary today. Some of you may not know her. She was in the force many years ago. Her father used to be at the Police Credit Union, and she was a member of the force, a very good friend in those days. Related birthday greetings to a countryman The veteran journalist, Adam Harris. Adam celebrated, I think, was on the 1st, and I missed it. Then, well, I'll have belated birthday greetings to Adam. And then we have some advanced birthday greetings. First to woman, I know she's ASP or DSP, Jeanette Prince. She is going to be celebrating one or observing her anniversary soon. Cedric Gravesandi, a former member too, he is going to be observing one soon. Monica Patrick Green. Monica used to be back in the day, way back then. She was a member, used to be at the police finance office. And then I think she went to the prison service. So she too is celebrating one shortly. And a friend of mine, not a police, but a student, Patricia Wilford. Patricia is going to be celebrating one very soon as well. And two other announcements before I bring in CC. Happy anniversary, belated happy anniversary to members of Course 84. Course 84 of the Guyana Police Force. They joined on the 1st of November 1976. And, you know, this is the one of the early squads. And they had the regulation number from 0674 to 0763, something around that, I think, the number. And that squad included woman as retired Assistant Commissioner Morrison, Paulette Morrison, who was the first female cadet officer in the Guyana Police Force. It also included retired woman Assistant Commissioner Claire Jarvis, who was in the Police Service Commission with me and Mr. Conway, and John Sayers, 0711 Sayers, who was at some stage the police public relations officer. They were members of that course. But of course, let me tell you something, CC, but people did not know. Those 0600 police, 1976, they came in November, and in October, I was promoted corporal, right? October, I got corporal. So as a subordinate officer, they was the first course. Now, they had a lot of the males came to the TSU, 0600 police came to the TSU to work. They were at the TSU. And, well, not that course, the course before. The course before them was at the TSU. And over the Christmas weekend of 1976, I would never, ever forget that. Many of them absented themselves from duty. Henry Fraser was the commissioner of police. Many of them, a whole set of people, them 0600 police, the early set, course 83. They absented themselves from duty. And on the first day, working day after the Christmas, TSU, they all fell in. Joe Sam was the officer in charge. And trying to get a record of all those who were absent. And Sergeant Dennis, them old police, I remember Sergeant Dennis, big strapping boy, was 6184, I think was his number. Dennis, they bluff them, everybody fall in there. And then everybody fall in. And he telling them who absent. All those who absent. We get a record. And hear the bluff. And I was part of this thing because they tell me that I must put down numbers. And then they told the ranks, all those who, look, you're absent, go over there. Stand up over there if you know you're absent. And Slow was given the responsibility of recording all the names and the numbers. Because in them days, every single policeman at the TSU, 200 and something, I knew the name and a number. I just watch them. I had my clipboard. As soon as I watch you, I could write down your name and your number. If you gave me a name, I will give you the number. And if you give me the number, I will give you a name. And they used me for that. So that when the ranks stepped over to indicate that they were absent, I was there writing down the names and so on. Of course, I must admit there were a few names who went in, claimed that they were absent. I did not record the names, right? Because, as they say, we used to be in the ghetto. There was a part of the TSU that we call the ghetto in Sea Dormitory, in the northern wing. Used to be the regulars used to be there. And two persons who were regulars were absent. I did not put down the name. And thank God I did not. And if I knew what would have been the outcome, maybe other names would not have been put down. Because once I put down those names and they were given to the commander, the OCTSU, those names went to the commissioner. And believe you me, there were about 15, 16. They were all dismissed. All summarily dismissed. And I felt very sad because I felt that I was involved in that, inadvertently though it was, in that process. I supplied the needs. I would never ever forget that. Never ever. And there's a particular man, he retired now. Whenever he meets me, he always reminds me of that. And he says he's thankful for me because I did not put down his name and he remained in the force to retire. Yeah, there are those 600 people. History, 1976, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, they're absent from duty. And finally, I want to wish a very good, well, is a friend, retired Colonel Carl Morgan, recently celebrated his 57th wedding anniversary. My favorite retired colonel. I know I have other colonels and lieutenant colonel. They might be a little jealous, but Carl has always been my favorite. And I would tell him this from time to time, whenever I see him or whenever we correspond. So he recently celebrated his 57th wedding anniversary. So congratulations to all those who had birthdays, who have birthdays today, who had recently, who are celebrating in the near future, and for those who had anniversaries. Let me bring in CC. I've been long, keep you all too long away from CC. Let me bring in CC for him to be with us. CC, welcome back. You can go ahead.
Good morning. Morning. Happy to be in the land of the living to do God's work, I miss you, but circumstances, but I'm here. And let me say thanks for all the persons who been sending text messages, using the internet, and doing all sorts of things, checking on me. On Wednesday, I went to the Georgetown Hospital to do a medical procedure. I said I ain't carrying no phone at the hospital, so I left it home and had a surgical intervention on Thursday. Was successful. Stayed Friday and Saturday I got discharged. I'm home, recovering well. For a matter, I have my own nurse because I met her in 1978. No, we connected in 1978 at Marlborough. And I remember she telling me yesterday. She reminded me. She said, "Remember when we were talking in 1978, and I told you that hey, when I retire, I want security, and I told you that when I retire, I want good medical treatment. So the thing is here, the security is here, the medical treatment is here. The only thing is that she's stricter than those at the Georgetown Hospital. I can't even go in the kitchen and dish up my own food to eat, and this kind of thing. Isn't that the rules, regulations, and restrictions? But I comply with it. I've been complying with it for over 40 something years, and it's working well. Paul, I had chance to listen to you. I put on my cap and I went beyond the boundary, and I saw you on 2 occasions batting on a green tap. And man, you play all the shots in the book, even some outside of the book. You had hooks, you had drives, you have cover drives, you go over the top, you like Brian Larry, you beat the field like Ron Connor, you went blasting for runs, like Viv Richards, you hit across the line, like Clive Ladd, you hit hard, It was so wonderful. I listened to you. And it's wonderful to be a student, So when I put down my student hat, and I watch you, excellent. And it's not that because you were in ripping form, We say form is temporary. No, form is temporary, class is permanent. Was because of your class. When I watch you and I listen to you, excellent work, well done. Now let me talk a bit about the Georgetown Hospital. I heard many negative things about the Georgetown Hospital, plenty. And I was a bit skeptical, but I went there. And I must say, I am extremely impressed. They were of the highest order. The doctor, the nurses, the other persons, even they got some Spanish-speaking cleaners. They were really, 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 really efficient and effective. And courtesy was the order of the day. I wish to thank them, from the doctors right down to the ordinary staff. Excellent work. And not only because of me, well, I didn't tell him who I am. All I say, I'm Clinton. And that was, I don't know if anybody me pick up. But the way they treated other persons, other patients there, the highest class of treatment. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you to the doctors. I won't put their names and nurses and I know them well on your anniversary. So by the grace of God, I'm doing well, and I sure that I'm going to recover well. God is in charge.
God is in charge and all will be well. I'm happy to know that you had a successful intervention. I'm happy to see that you're back as well. So even though I was there playing shots and people believe, say, look, this man enjoying this batting alone. Yeah, you got to do what you have to do. You have to bat alone, you have to bat. But that doesn't mean that you do not want the other batsman to be at the other end. And so therefore, CC, I'm happy that you are back, happy that you're recovering, and I wish you a continued speedy recovery. Now, they're going to ask you how we dress. So today's parliament, today's parliament, the 2 o'clock this afternoon. So I just a little parliamentary this morning. So we got to talk about that as we go on. Now, in terms of continuing a few more announcements, don't forget we had Hurricane Melissa. People say it destroyed, devastated certain areas in Jamaica. We have a few people, especially Dudley. I reached out to Dudley in Jamaica, and he indicated very early he had lost electricity and internet. But I think he's back with that now. And I said this to say to you that I'm sure that very soon, they might have had already, areas where you can make donations to the people of Jamaica who are recovering. All those of you who are in a position to help your brother when they are in need. Help your brothers and sisters when they are in need. Because I have seen some photographs of some videos showing the devastation of certain areas in Jamaica, right? And then, as I indicated to you, we have daylight saving time. Again, a reminder, the clocks in the US were turned back yesterday morning. So Eastern Standard Time, let me deal with Eastern Standard Time because I know US, they have different time zones. Eastern Standard Time now is 1 hour behind Guyana, right? So now we're going to start using the Eastern Standard Time, still 11 at East in the US, which is 1 hour behind Guyana. So it's going to be 12 o'clock. So that's just a reminder. Now, tomorrow, let me remind you too, tomorrow is the elections in November. That's one of the things you got to admire about the US. The first Tuesday in November every year is election. Every 4 is for the president and so on, but every first Tuesday. So the first Tuesday in November tomorrow will be elections. I know in New York they're going to elect a mayor, or they're going to elect other officers, they elect judges and all of that. In New Jersey, I think they're electing a governor and other officials as well. So for those of you who are in the US, let me say this to you. This voting is a sacred thing. Elections have consequences. And people fought and died for the right to vote. And you should really vote. Because I know many people in the US, in part, what they do, at the big election every 4 years, yes, they will be mobilized and they will be motivated to go. But let's forget about these other elections. But these other elections are very, very important because they elect, in the states, they elect judges and other officials who can have significant impact on you and your freedom. So make sure that you go out and you vote. Early voting started since the 25th, I understand, of at least in New York, the 25th of October. A lot of millions of people have already voted. So there should be no excuse. Should be no. People fought and died for the right to vote because back in the day, black people in particular, slaves and the former descendants of slaves could not vote. And here it is now that you have a right to vote to determine who ruling you. And people seems very lethargic and reluctant to take part in the process. There's a process you never ever miss. That you should get up that down as a sacred process. So yeah, very important, because as I said, elections have consequences. You ain't go, and then people are elected who put going to bring certain policies that you're not in favor of, that will affect you, and then what happen? What happen? You complain, oh, they say that, but you got to hold yourself responsible to some extent, because you had an opportunity to participate in the process and you refuse to do so. And in the case of Guyana, because some of you refuse to do so, as the Barlet would say, 5 more years upon them. 5 more years upon them. Right? Don't mess with that process. Don't mess with it. Use your privilege and the right to go and vote. So that is to the people in the States. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, this one may have slipped you by with all that went on Friday. Friday was dominated by the arrest of the Mohammeds and the subsequent court proceedings, which ended in him being put on bail. Right? That was Friday. But there's another matter that went on Friday, which I don't think it was covered anywhere. I'm referring to the case, cybercrime case, against the host of Guyana Morning Time, Kidaki Amsterdam, the Bostonian, Kidaki Amsterdam. Remember some time ago, he has this program, those of you know, where you could call in and people have the comments and all these type of things and so on. He had a program some time ago where someone called in and made threats to, I think it was to behead certain senior government officials. And for that, he was charged. He's the host of the program. He did not make the threat, but apparently claiming that he facilitated the means by which the threat was to be made. He was charged with cybercrime. He was charged with cybercrime. And on Friday, my understanding is that the charge or charges were dismissed. Yeah, covered over, dismissed. Not a cybercrime charge, all these trumped up charges they're bringing against people. One set of people. One set of people. And you would note there's other issue that we didn't cover before. Jennifer Ali, I think was the woman name, who making all sort of vile comments against black people on social media. All sort of, since the Adriana Young case, she came out and she made all sort of vile, ethnic comments. Yeah? Ethnically insensitive comments. And what? I saw in the media that the Ethnic Relation Commission summoned her, and she went there sometime last week, and they said she needs, I think, psychological treatment or something like that. That is what they do. When babies hello, use those vile words and they believe Mother Lakshmi or one sort of thing, charge, remanded to prison. But Jennifer Ali, I think that's her name, right? Ethnic Relation Commission, she need counseling or something like that. You could tell me this place is not an animal farm. You could tell me that Guyana is not an animal farm, right? Yeah, so that's what we are. And then in terms of, I'm bringing Mr. Henry the sense of cricket, India women won the World Cup. West Indies men team have now moved on to New Zealand to play in a T20 series. I think it starts on the 5th. So let me see what happens. It will start on the 5th, the meetings tomorrow afternoon, I think, right? So these are some of the things that I wish to bring to your attention before we go into the substantive issues. Let me bring in Mr. Conway for him to make any comments he wishes to make on their psychiatric treatment that she got to get. And then we are going to delve into some other stuff. CC, as I've said, we talk about the elections, we talk about the charge against Kidaki, and I'm sure you want to make some comments on those. Go ahead, please.
Well, we knew that they had anything about Kidaki. It wasn't evidence. It was politics playing out all the time. Politics from beginning to end. And that woman who the ECR calling, he should have gone to the court and let the magistrate decide whether or not she needs psychological or whatever kind of treatment. Not for them to decide. Them should have made the recommendation. And within the terms of reference to make a recommendation. Not them decide on their own that, hey, this woman got to get this psychological treatment and all kind of thing. Is way beyond their terms of reference, So, and I know Kidaki, I know it would have been dismissed. Whether they got him next year, there's no evidence there. The thing. Politics, pure politics, and nothing to do with any criminal offense.
I agree. Let me thank all the students who are complimenting me on my dress this morning. Some of them say I look like I'm going to Parliament. Some of them say I look presidential. They're saying all sort of thing, man. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. Right? Thank you very much for your complimentary remarks. And last week, Wednesday and Friday too, you did compliment me. You did compliment me on my my outstanding singular performance. I appreciate your thoughts and compliments and so on. Right now, let me move on. First substantive matter this morning. Scandal again in the Guyana Police Force. Another scandal in the Guyana Police Force. Is every week almost you're having some scandal. And these scandals that involve things like sexual misconduct or so on are particularly aggravating, particularly worrying. And what's going to happen? What do you think going to happen? Because of who the persons are the persons alleged to be involved? Very little. When you look at these things when they're published and look at the comments, people don't have any confidence that things are going to, that justice will prevail. And here this one, I'm going to read it to you, not very long. Senior police rank accused of blackmail and sexual harassment after compromising photos emerge. A major scandal erupted within the Guyana Police Force after junior police rank reportedly discovered compromising photographs of his wife with a very senior police officer. The revelation has sent shockwaves through the force, especially since the woman reportedly works in the same office as the senior officer, now at the center of the controversy. According to the distraught husband, the situation began to unfold several months ago when he noticed unusual late-night messages appearing on his wife's phone from our superior. Quote, I asked her what was going on, and she said she didn't know why this man kept bothering her at all hours, end of quote. The husband told reporters. The matter reportedly took a dramatic turn just weeks ago when the husband said he borrowed his wife's phone to make a call, only for another message from the same officer to pop up. What he saw next, he claims, nearly made his heart stop. Quote, there she was, my wife, in some compromising photograph with the same man, end of quote, he said. When confronted, the husband said his wife broke down and admitted that the photographs were taken before their marriage. However, she allegedly claimed that the senior officer has been using the images to blackmail and sexually harass her ever since. Quote, she told me when she refuses him, he turns around and makes her life miserable at work, end of quote. The husband alleged, adding that his wife has pleaded to be transferred but has been ignored. The husband also claimed that before their marriage, the same senior officer once pulled a gun on him in a jealous rage. And the quote again, I was giving her a drop one evening when he started following us. He turned on sirens, stopped my car, came out with a firearm, and ordered me to open the door. When he saw her, he got wild, the man alleged. A report was allegedly made at Brigdam Police Station following the incident, but the husband claimed he was later advised not to pursue the matter because the senior officer was, quote, too well connected, end of quote. As the allegations swirl, both officers reportedly remain on active duty. Calls are now growing for an internal probe to determine the truth behind the explosive claims and whether the force will take disciplinary action. The husband says he's heartbroken, but determined to expose the truth, even if it means taking the matter public. Well, the matter here is public now. The matter is public, but this is another another damning report against police, a senior officer. Apparently what they're saying, he carrying out with the man's wife. That is the allegation. He carrying out with the man's wife. And then blackmailing, he claimed that that is what is alleged. Allegedly blackmailing you. And then pull gun on the husband. What is really going on? And let me tell you this, even though this has been made public now, there were rumors long before about this relation. Not only rumors, but photographs circulated to substantiate this what should call inappropriate relationship. Inappropriate relationship photograph circulated. And what happened? Nothing ain't happening. Nothing ain't happening. And they're saying, when they ask is who, they're asking me is who. Me, I know is who. But what they're saying is that the body get previous. The officer against whom these allegations are made, they claim that he get previous. So you have to rack my whole brain to find out who had previous allegations about harassment and all that. I got to rack this whole brain to find out. But that is what is going on. I understand too, it was alleged that not only gun pulling, I understand at some stage, shot all fire. Shot, man lick shot. Carrying on with the man's wife and then bullying the man. And they're claiming, according to what I've seen, that the husband is a relatively junior subordinate officer. And the wife who works with this senior officer is far senior to him. So little rank was he passing there. And then they're saying too that the wife get some limited amount of service and flying high in the job. Flying high. Gone to senior supervisor, what they call senior NCO or senior subordinate officer position with limited service, 5 to 6 years service, gone. So they used to call it, well, I can't use the term here. Let me see how best I can put it over. Back in the day, them by yourself, is something pension. It's P pension. That is what it is. P pension. But this is, again, what the whole breakdown in the disciplinary structure in the force, broke down. As I say, the fish rots from the head, and that is what is going on. It's not only thieving money and corruption you're about at senior levels, and I think that is the worrying thing, that you have a situation now where senior people, allegations are made against senior people, and for them who just jump and talk, I say, yeah, we've always had allegations against ranks in the force, always. But I can't ever recall this frequency of credible allegations against very, very senior people from the commissioner and all them, allegations being made against them, unheard of. And if allegations are made against them, what do you think will happen when allegations are made against the junior people? They empathize with them. They not sympathize, they empathize with them because they are the ones who they did similar stuff, or allegations were also made against them. So they can't take action against the people. It's an old breakdown. It's a old breakdown in the process. And the new minister must look at all of that. It's a breakdown because this is not, as I've said, an isolated allegation. Not so long ago, a couple of weeks ago, we heard about the big sex scandal in the training institution. Big sex scandal, nasty, stinking sex scandal where they say involve abortion and all that everything. In the training institution, allegations including homosexual relationships in the training institution, photographs surface, instructors drinking fancy liquor with trainees, all are going on in the training institution. All. And what they did, they said they transfer an officer and I think 5 sergeants out of the place. And they said the overburdened OPR will be investigating. What has happened? Tell us, what has happened? And Minister, when you talk about transparency, you talk about discipline, I'm going to adjust that in the next program. We ain't got time today, because today after this, we have to deal with this parliament story, right? But it's a total breakdown. A total breakdown. We had that. We got the allegation too that the commander of Region 1 was being investigated for financial irregularities. We were told that the Soku people went into the police finance office and seized the vouchers, and 3 investigators were dispatched to Mabaruma Northwest District in Region 1 in furtherance of this investigation. And we're not. Well, we are. I hear that they got instructions. That is what is being alleged. That instructions were passed for them to back off. That was, don't worry the investigation. Back off. That is, and they said at that time when they reported it was, I think, 23 or something $million. And people say that was the tip of the iceberg. 23 million fraud, forged documents, and that sort of thing. I tell them to investigate because the people who are alleged to be involved are aligned to the political forces. Nothing. And we have more. We get, look, the one, same region one, where a corporal of police is alleged to have this relationship with a 15-year-old. And what happened to them? We hear nothing more, you know. We're not hearing anything more. We are not hearing anything more. I learned too that they had a matter, ranks on the East Coast recently, ranks on the East Coast were placed under close arrest because it is alleged they took $300,000 in relation to some gun matter. You're hearing nothing. That one was never reported, I don't think. Right? The thing's stinking. The thing stink. And what happened? Nothing is being done. They're not doing nothing. So it continues. They are covering it up because I believe they know that if you were to have a proper investigation, many of the senior ones will be implicated as well. And as a result of that, they prefer for stay quiet or give an initial statement and then duck and hide. That is what is going on. That is what is going on. Then you have, remember, not so long ago too, they told us, they reported that there was an allegation where an inspector and some ranks on Church Street robbed a Chinese national. They told us that the Chinese national came out of the casino. He won some money in the casino, $5 million plus dollars. And when he came out, he was confronted by these police ranks. They told us that the man, in order not to be harassed, offered them $1.5 million. And they said they took from $5 million, they took away from him. We were told that they were under close arrest, and then nothing. But my information is that there's a recommendation for the inspector and the sergeant to be charged with robbery under arms. It's about 2 weeks now, right? And nothing happening. Again, because I understand that the inspector during the campaign was seen in the uniform, PVP uniform, so the man get coverage, so he can go and rob the Chinese people and so on, and nothing happening, right? So how you expect the force to improve? I have said repeatedly, you have got to face up to these things and take proper action when they occur. Face up. You have rogue, they call them rogue elements. You have rogue elements, you have corrupt cops. The problem, you've always had that. Problem now is, it looks like the majority of them are of that persuasion, right? It looks like the majority. So I don't know what the minister is going to do about this. I don't know what the government is going to do, because the government has clearly shown they have no interest in dealing with corruption at any level, because corruption there in the government too. They told us during the manifesto leading up to the September 1st election, they're going to establish this anti-corruption unit. Well, they haven't started yet. I think they need more time to establish the anti-corruption unit. Let me bring in Mr. Conway, and then we are going to move on. Let me see. We got a little delay, so I'm going to bring in CC now. And CC, all these allegations, what is your take on that, my brother?
Well, them allegations been long, you know. They were very, very long in the making. We reported on some of them. And this last one with the senior officer and the female in his office is there all the time. They might wait till something happen, till something deadly happen. I ain't calling on it, but gotta be careful. It's there, it's so latent. And then when you look back, at a police training environment that they call an academy. Oh Lord. Sex full scale, sex for pass, sex for preferential treatment, sex for everything. And not only male and female, male in the room, one in the trainer's room, drinking liquor. See the video, and if you see them and enjoying it, I don't know if they don't hold inspection. And the same one who buying the expensive liquor, I reported months ago that when trainee went to Barbies for the Christmas policing, they wore some shoes, nice shiny. The same one in the same corporal there. He's the man who was fronting for an officer, and he was buying the shoe for the trainee, the Amerindian there, and they had to pay him for the shoe. The police force not paying, not buy shoe no more. Perhaps Brutus buy out all them shoes that the recruits has got to pay for their footwear. I never stop, but talking about the recruits, most of them have gone back to the Rupununi, gone back to Letem, and I Shelton. They have to pay for their shoe or the college there. It is shocking. They shouldn't have been there. You want to know what I'm going to do there? They in no way, no shape or form qualified to be there. And I'm talking about 98% of them, include training, no experience. I don't know how they could call themselves, how they could call themselves instructors. If you investigate them, you find that they just transfer them. A man working in the quartermaster, so hey, you something wrong, transfer you to training school. A man working in the band room, transfer you to band room to the training environment. And you're transferring for teach criminal law or for teach music, Just send it there. So they turn in and cover down, and the head ain't doing nothing. Ask when last year at the barcode inspection. Ask if they just get shoot out with the trainees and the officers there. So many good things happening. Region 1, we always talk about Region 1, 15-year-old, and the second in command. Allegations about sexual interactions, investigation, and a cover-up investigation. What next? What point, like many things will surface, and they will just, say they're doing investigation, OPR investigating, and they cover it down. But it is not doing good for the force, for the image of the force. And that's why the squad is saying that it's getting difficulty for people to join the force. They're not going to join because of what is going on there. And every goddamn day, it's some big scandal going in the police force. Some big scandal, and they don't do anything about it.
Yeah, and then when we come back to Region 1, we miss out the one where the allegations made about the commander with some inappropriate relationship with the staff there. And then the commander's wife, it is alleged, got involved and the commander wife ordered a transfer of the female who was there working the registry to a place where they said they had no female accommodation. Ordered a transfer, and when the rank refused to go, they stopped his salary and all sort of thing. And then when she attempted to travel to Georgetown by use of one of the aircraft there, she was prevented from boarding. All of that going on in the police force, and of course, can't bite his tongue, can't carry away his tongue, can't talk, can't deal with the situation. And I maintain that if you are going to talk about reform, you can't reform the force, you can't improve the image of the force when you get people like Ikin and others at the top It's not going to work. Let me understand. It ain't gonna happen. That is the reality. It ain't gonna happen. They themselves are involved or alleged to be involved in corruption. So it ain't gonna happen, right? And this government does not have the appetite for that type of change. They're glad with what's going on. Because if you have unprofessional senior law enforcement officers in place, then you can call them and get them to do whatever you want them to do. That is the bottom line. You could call them, tell them, do this, lock up this body, don't lock up that body, and so on. And they are going to carry it out because they are beholden to you. That is the reality. The government controlling promotion, government controlling transfer, and all this type of thing. So what do you expect? What do you expect? In my day, despite what they said, no government can't tell no commissioner. I work with, let me start Ragabir for the land, now Ragabir, Larry Lewis, Felix, even Green, and them. Do you think any government could tell them who for transfer or who not for transfer? When we had promotions, after promotions, because people get promoted, you got to move people around, right? We had the senior officers will meet at what we call a posting meeting, where we decide who is going to go where, right? And it's not to victimize anybody, but we sat down and we said, well, if this body can be the commander, maybe we recognize a weakness in a particular area. So we're going to ensure the second in command, the detective officer, is somebody who's strong in that area so that you can brace, they can brace. But now they're not in. It's a blind leading the blind. Everybody there, nobody I know. And sometimes the junior ones who know are afraid to speak because they use what Larry Lewis used to call the power continuum. I am the boss, so if I say this, this is it. Me and Kate, what you telling me and so on. That is what is going on. And it can't change and it cannot improve with certain people in it. It cannot. And let me move on. And I invite you all to share now, because we're going to talk about what we do. We go now to the parliament today. We're talking now about the arrest on Friday. And I'm sure y'all will want to hear what is going on. Parliament today and arrest on Friday. Now, let me start by saying this. And the students who have been in this class, I'm sure, and yeah, I want y'all to indicate, we have explained to you the process once the proclamation is made for the convening of the 13th Parliament. We told you that what happens is that they're going to meet today at 2 o'clock. That is what the thing says. Now, at that fourth session, they're gonna elect a speaker of the National Assembly. I understand that the speaker is gonna be Nadir again. That is what they know. Nadir, the same man who banned the word corruption in Parliament and so on. Where are he going back? That is what it said. That he going back. So once the speaker is elected, and you know what happens there again? It's an election of all the members. The PPP has what, 36 seats. So whoever they want to be speaker will be the speaker. Because you got to be nominated. I mean, they got a process of seconding, and then they're going to vote, and whoever they want to be speaker will be the speaker. Let me understand that clearly. Then there is to be a deputy speaker. We understand the convention was that the deputy speaker came from the party, the largest part, the party that controls the largest block of opposition seats. That didn't happen in the last parliament. Last parliament, they had what they call the China party, and Schumann. All of them was just front, because Schumann then represented some other party. Asha Kissoon represented some other party. And what happened? Schumann went and he served his term, and then he handed over to Asha Kissoon. And when her turn came for a move, she decided she ain't moving for the third person to get a bite of the thing, so to speak. She never moved, right? She never moved. So we don't know who is going to be the deputy speaker. We don't know who's going to be the deputy speaker. They also will swearing the members of parliament. Let me understand it clearly. The members of parliament. We explained to you, according to Article 184 of the Constitution, I think it is, that this thing where they run around with leader of the opposition, no leader of the opposition will be elected or selected or nominated today. Let me understand it. If you have to follow what the Constitution says, that not mean. So I see Wim come out and all them talking about Assaduddin Mohammed will be leader of the opposition tomorrow. No, that is not the process. The process is the speaker today, deputy speaker, and the swearing of the members of parliament. Now, what is then said, I think is 184. I don't quote me on the particular article in the Constitution. Then the speaker will have to summon a meeting of all the opposition members. Sometime after today, he has to summon a meeting of all the opposition members, and is that at that meeting, the opposition members will elect the leader of the opposition. I mean, and when you hear the talking about all these things and so on, I said, you know that they're not students. Because if they were students of speaking out, this was explained to them time and time again. Well, if they were students, it's because they had hard. They can't understand certain basic things. Because we have done our best to break it down. All right, so that is what God takes. So today at 2 o'clock. Now what we have this story with the arrest and the extradition proceedings. I'm going to go through, we're going to spend the rest of the morning, I think, dealing with that. We have a lot to go through with that. You have the arrest, and then you have the extradition proceedings. Now what happened? What happened? On Friday, well, let me try to get some logic to this thing. We know that the Mohammeds, along with others, the business and May Thomas, was sanctioned by the U.S. sometime last year. We know that. That is part of the record. They were sanctioned. Now, we learned that sometime last month, early last month, the grand jury in a Florida court issued an indictment against the two Mohammeds, Nazar Shel Mohammed and his son Asudin, who was in the leader, who is the leader of the Win party. Right? Now, we explained to you that once they are indicted, the next thing is for a request to be made for them to be extradited to the U.S. to face the charge. Because the indictment is like the charge. They charge them in the U.S., alleging a whole set of stuff. Right? They charge them, alleging a whole set of stuff. So after that, the next stage of the proceedings is for them, the U.S., to make a request to Guyana for them to be extradited to the U.S. to face these charges. Right? Let me walk you through. I expressed my surprise that I think that the indictment was on the 6th of October, and for weeks, you hear nothing. Weeks. Because I was of the view, perhaps still holds the view, that they're going to also forget Asudin out of the way. There's no question that part of all of this is because the PPP and want Asudin Mohammed to be a member of parliament, even though there's the will of the people. And the PPP definitely would not want Asudin Mohammed to be the leader of the opposition. Let me understand it clearly. So I said, in my view, that even the delay in the convening of parliament was over that. Let me understand, because today, the 3rd day of November 2025, was the last day, according to the Constitution, for them to convene parliament. They wait until the last day. And I'm saying that they were hoping that between the indictment and now, Asudin Mohammed would have been off the scene. So what happened? We learned that on Friday, let me read what News Source wrote. They're going to bring in CC to get a piece, and then they're going to move on. We learned on Friday that we learned it after the fact. I told you all that I had court Friday morning, virtual. I attended virtually Friday morning. It was set for 9 o'clock. And I was there, 9 o'clock, waiting, nothing. My attorneys were there as well, waiting, nothing. And then about 9:15 or so, 9:20, we were advised that court will now start at 10:15 instead of 10:15. We say, all right, come out, and we went back. We were then told that there was some meeting And as a result of the meeting, the magistrate had to postpone the commencement of court. I learned later that they brought down the magistrate from Diamond Grove Police Station, Judy Latchman, to Georgetown Code 7. And I think they got you some process to swear in to listen, to air, or to preside over this extradition proceedings. Friday morning. Here what happened. Current to Gordon Mosley, news source, reporting. Prosecution sought to link Mohammeds to criminal enterprises in Venezuela, U.S., and Middle East during bail hearing. Attorneys reject claim. Hear what it says. When the extradition request hearing for Nazar and Azzuddin Mohammed got underway today, that is on Friday, the prosecuting attorneys accused the father and son of being part of an international criminal enterprise with links to Venezuela, the United States, and the Middle East. The government of the United States of America has submitted an application to the Guyanese government to have the father and son extradited to U.S., where they are facing a total of 11 charges relating to wire fraud, wire and mail fraud, and money laundering. In court today, Special Prosecutor Terrence Williams told Senior Magistrate Judy Latchman that the Mohammeds were alleged, quote, criminals with ties to high offices in Venezuela and connection to the U.S. and Middle East. Quote, the gentlemen before you have been engaged in international criminal enterprise, including tentacles in Venezuela, in high offices in Venezuela, tentacles reaching across the United States of America into the Middle East, end of quote. Attorney at law Williams told the court. He said information suggests that the Mohammeds have been in contact with authorities in Venezuela, and it is suspected that they have been making moves to continue an unlawful enterprise in the neighboring country. Looking closer at home, the attorney told the court that there's also concern that the Mohammeds could also disrupt peace and security of Guyana with support of Venezuelan elements and criminal elements at home, and therefore should not be granted bail. Further, he argued that there are witnesses to the crimes which are the subject of the U.S. extradition request, and there is a concern that the Mohammeds could tamper with justice. But the attorneys for the Mohammeds dubbed the prosecution's argument as baseless and without merit. The lead attorney, Sayand Dujan, told the court that the majority of the allegations placed before the court were being heard for the first time and were never the subject of a police investigation on our charges in Guyana. He said Williams approached the court with mere allegations with zero evidence. Quote, no charges have been laid with respect to the criminal enterprise referenced, and our clients have not been questioned by the police in that regard. And the court, Dujan told the court. Alluding to the Venezuelan connection, Dujan said the only entity that has sought to link the Mohammeds to Venezuela is the government of Guyana. He singled out the Vice President Bar Jagdeo and friends of the government as being key to those claims, submitting that the case before the court is a political one intended to bar Azzuddin Mohammed from taking up his seat in the National Assembly. Dujan also rubbished the claim that the Mohammeds were flight risk. He pointed out that although the Mohammeds were indicted in the U.S. in early October, they have remained in the country. Rising to support, Senior Counsel Royce Ford also made a case for bail for the Mohammeds. He said the government has had the Mohammeds under surveillance for an extended period, and the father and son would have no trouble handing over their passport to the court and reporting to the police daily. He said they were even prepared to be monitored more by the police. On airing the arguments, the magistrate granted bail in the sum of $150,000 each, while applying two conditions: The accused are required to report to the rival police station every Friday, and they have been ordered to lodge their passports. That is the gist of what transpired in court on Friday. But we have more to talk about. But let me bring in CC, and then I'm going to come back to you. Let me bring CC in to comment on that, and we have a lot to talk about in this matter. CC, let me hear your take on all of these arguments that they make about the Mohammeds have connection to Venezuela and now and in Middle East and all of that. And as the lawyer said, not a iota of evidence produced to substantiate this case. What is your take?
Well, first thing is that they rush Magistrate Julie Latchman from our court to the Georgetown Magistrates Court to deal with it. And there were whispers that she's very supportive of the government. And there were whispers that they're going to bypass our magistrate and make her chief magistrate. But lo and behold, what she did, turned the whole table upside down. Because she sent him on bail, $150,000 bail. Sent him on bail. Now that she remanded him and then put off the case for another day, and then the person would apply for bail and get bail. He was sent freely. And then we all know that in this case, anything above $200,000, you gotta get manager's check. So they go with the cash bail end of the matter. They're trying all sort of things. All sort of things. So if they had charged him and remanded him, he would have been in prison, and then they had a big legal battle whether to swear him today or whether to swear him subsequently. But the whole thing, is orchestrated to deal with Mohammed, deal with the Mohammeds, and things going to happen. I showed you in the course of the day. We will see what will transpire.
All right, let me continue. Right, as we said, Asruddin and Mohammed and his father were arrested on Friday. Now, I am not going to get involved at this stage in the mode of arrest. Some people saying that they go arrest for embarrassing and cuff and dash in the back of a vehicle and so on. And I'm honored to remind them that on October the 15th, 2021, when I report to the court to attend court, I got summons by Soku Ramana from Soku to attend court. And when I turned up to attend court 3 in compliance with the summons, Ransom, Soku, Ramana, and others were there from Soku. Olan on me, roughed me up. Olan the back of my pants. Olan on my hand. Assaulted me, roughed me up. And they didn't come out and make nice. So I am not going to go in now in the manner Mohammed, the dash in the back of a vehicle and coffee dash in the back of the vehicle and coffee and the father and people who are suspect, because I have seen videos and photographs. Men get on balaclava, you can't see the face. Men cover the face with ski masks. I don't know that they are policemen. I don't know that they are policemen, right? And then here's somebody telling me, head of special branch, the head of special branch, Senior Superintendent Prem Narayan, the triple jumper, and then he was the man who effected the arrest. The head of special branch of the Ghana Police Force effecting an arrest on this man. This thing is political. And I am saying this, and I'm going to bring the evidence to show. I'll present the evidence here. The purpose of the arrest of Asruddin Mohammed on Friday was to make sure that he was remanded, and therefore today, when Parliament is to convene, he would have been in custody, and he would not have been released to go and to be sworn in as a member of Parliament. And look, as a former senior police officer, we don't just make these statements just like that. I can bring you the evidence to confirm that. Again, I say to you, share the live. The arrest timed as it was. On Friday, the last working day before the convening of Parliament, the intention was to have him remanded by the magistrate. They brought the magistrate down from the Diamond Magistrate Court, another ministerial district, not the Georgetown Ministerial District, another, came, and of course they might have gone through the process to give her the legal authority to deal with this matter in Georgetown, right? To deal with the matter in Georgetown. Whereas, as I've read, they got a whole set of magistrates in the Georgetown Ministerial District, but they decided that this magistrate from Diamond Magistrate Court will come to deal with this matter. Well, it looked like it backfired spectacularly. And why am I saying this? I refer to a post from Attorney at Law Sanjeev Dattagin. Now, Sanjeev Dattagin is a member of the PPP. He was a member of Parliament during the 12th Parliament, and he's listed to be a member of Parliament on the 13th Parliament, should be sworn in today, right? Sanjeev Dattagin, a lawyer, one of the legal brains of the PPP, wrote to say the Mohammeds were each granted bail at the first call of an extradition proceedings against them. This is most unusual. The fundamental principle of bail is to ensure the defendants return to court for the airing of a criminal charge against them. But there is no criminal charge in this court. It is an extradition airing. The charge is going to be heard in the court in the United States. So bail? It's not surprising that in no previous reported case where the granting of bail by the magistrate airing of extradition proceedings. Let me read it back. It's not surprising that in no previous reported case was there the granting of bail by the magistrate airing an extradition proceedings. It is difficult to see our magistrate, as a creature of statute, is able to grant bail when it is not airing the charge. The claim by lawyers to the Mohammed that they intended to file some constitutional challenge does nothing to change this position. They are entitled to file constitutional challenge, but that does not entitle the magistrate to grant bail. Our Constitution preserves the right, and let me read that, yes. Our Constitution preserves the right to liberty at Article 139. But as seen below, our Constitution, Article 139I, or 1, specifically permits the loss of liberty in extradition proceedings. It's fundamental to the judicial system that there is consistency. Extradition proceedings are unique. The right of the state to put those who offered the law in trial is a sacred principle of international law, regardless of who that person is. Manuel Noriega was president of Panama when he was taken by U.S. authorities to stand trial in the USA. Desi Bouterse was president of Suriname and convicted of the Netherlands in absentia. But still, Guyana has had its fair share of extradition proceedings since I have been in practice, and none were granted bail by a magistrate due to the express language of the Constitution. I don't know how Noriega come into the argument. That was the end of the post. I don't know how Noriega came into. We talk about extradition, and he bring in Manuel Noriega, the president of Panama. He was never extradited. Manuel Noriega was never, ever extradited. What happened to Noriega? In 1989, the U.S. invaded Panama. And in 1990, months after the invasion, Noriega was found in some church or something, and he was handed over. He surrendered to the U.S. authorities. So I don't know how the lawyer Sanjeev Dattagin, PPP member, can bring in this Noriega case to argue about extradition. I don't know, right? But I say that to say to you that given what he has written there, he has actually said clearly, unambiguously, that the magistrate should not have granted bail. He's claiming that the magistrate has no authority to grant bail in an extradition proceeding. That is what he's saying. So if you arrest him, logical, let me deal with some logic here now. If you arrest him Friday around midday and you take him to court, then the PPP expected him to be remanded. The PPP expected him to be remanded. Right? So we understand. So when I say to you that I believe that this whole thing was timed to make sure that 2 o'clock this afternoon, Azadin Mohammed is not at Parliament to be sworn in as a member of Parliament, not leader of the opposition as we explained, member of Parliament. There's the evidence is there. There is the evidence from Sanjeev Dattanin, one of the liars, one of the PPP's liars, that this man was arrested with the expectation that this man is shared that they brought from Diamond to operate in Georgetown Code 7 would not have granted him bail. No, Raul Blackman, no, he wasn't kidnapped. Somebody say Professor, no, he wasn't kidnapped. The event is some church. I did the research this morning, you must check. They invaded in 1989. And in 1990, Noriega turned himself over. That is what is being said. Noriega turned himself over to the U.S. authorities. He been in hiding and ducking and hiding all the time. As the boys would say, he was snooping and pudooping. And then he was handed over, taken to the U.S., charged and convicted, tried and convicted. Then I understand that after that, he was then extradited from the U.S., I think, to France. That's where the extradition took place. Not from Panama to the United States. Right? So again, I say to you, Sanjeev Dattanin has made it clear as crystal, that when Azadin Mohammed, not the father so much, Azadin is the target, when he was arrested on Friday, the expectation was that he would have been remanded. And therefore, if he's remanded, then I don't know how he can. And I asked the question, I tell you, I come on this program because I was into it all the time. Can a person be sworn in virtually? Y'all remember the student? Because I had anticipated that he would have been locked down too. Well, it is not over. I got not over because I posted that when I looked at the crystal ball, I can see legal maneuverings taking place before 2 o'clock to make sure that he can go. Maybe, I don't know, speculation, maybe a move to the court to say that the granting of bail was not legal or something like that. So we wait and see. Let's wait. We have what? What time is it now? Now is in Guyana. Now is 1:30. So we get at least. Let me wait and see, man. Let me wait and see. Let us wait and see this thing. So it is clear from what he said that they never expected him to be granted bail. Now let me go to this part. See, I'll give some batting just now. The batting sweet, the bowling soft. Following the arrest of Azadin Mohammed and his father, and following when they went to court and things, well, even before they got to court, the Attorney General Chambers made a media release October the 31st. Among the things they said, here's what they said, the Attorney General's Chambers, right? On the 30th of October 2025, the government of Guyana received a request from the government of the United States of America to extradite the two Mohammeds pursuant to an extradition treaty between Guyana and the United Kingdom, which extends and remains in force in Guyana under the provisions of Section 41A of the Fugitive Offenders Act, Chapter 1004, as amended by Act Number 10 of 2024. Here we say, he says that on the 3rd of October, they received this extradition request. Then the next paragraph, the very next paragraph of this release said, the arrest warrant was issued after a team of lawyers led by Terrence Williams, KC, and KC, in case you know, is King's Counsel. The equivalent in Guyana is QC, SC, Senior Counsel, but it used to be QC because there was a queen. After the queen died, there is now a king. So it's a KC, King's Counsel. We don't have, well, in Guyana, you can't issue, the president can't make a King Counsel. You make Senior Counsel, right? Even though we have Guyanese who are KCs, at least one that I know. They say Terrence Williams, KC, Herbert McKenzie, and Celine Diedrich, attorneys at law to the magistrate and authority. Let me read that back. They said the arrest warrant was issued after a team of lawyers led by Terrence Williams, KC, Herbert McKenzie, and Cillian Diedrich, attorneys at law, presented to the magistrate an authority to proceed from the government of Guyana, accompanied by an application for an arrest warrant as is mandated under the provisions of the Act. Now, let me break that down. Nonetheless, or his office, Attorney General's release, that the government received this extradition request from the U.S. on the 30th, even though we know that they were indicted on the 6th of October. So over 3 weeks passed before they received this request. But then he goes on to say the arrest warrant was issued after a team of lawyers led by Terrence Williams KC, Herbert McKenzie, and Cillian Diedrich, attorneys at law, presented to the magistrate an authority to proceed from the government of Guyana, accompanied by an application for an arrest warrant. So basically we're saying, these three lawyers, I have done my research, are Jamaicans. Mr. Terrence Williams, King's Counsel, Mr. Herbert McKenzie, and Mr. Cillian and Miss Cillian Diedrich. Well, I read about Cillian Diedrich, nice complimentary things. She was a beauty queen, and I was doing research, I was doing research. So and all of that. Then he said, these attorneys presented to the magistrate an authority to proceed from the government of Guyana, accompanied by an application for arrest. So what happened here? Let me break it down. Y'all share the life. Things getting sweet. These lawyers from Jamaica came. He said Friday when they went to court, the government had issued them what they call an authority to proceed. In other words, the government engaged them and issued them an authority to proceed with this matter. So they went to court along with that authority to proceed. So in other words, they presented to the magistrate their authority to proceed on behalf of the government. And at the same time, they made a request for an arrest warrant for Azzuddin Mohammed and his father, and the arrest warrant was granted by the magistrate. Now, the 30th we're talking about is significant, that they received the request on the 30th. Now, if you received the request on the 30th, Mr. Nandalal, Attorney General Chambers, I little stupidity, tell me when and how you were able to engage the three attorneys from Jamaica. I tell you, I like when they write, I like when they talk, because I can dissect or dissect, right? Let me say this. They say that the government received this request from the United States on the 30th of October, right? 30th of October, we Thursday. The 31st was Friday, early o'clock, early in the morning. These three lawyers from Jamaica presented their authority to the magistrate to proceed, and at the same time made an application for an arrest warrant. So if you only know about this thing, and you're trying to create the impression that you only know about this thing on Thursday, when you engage these people from Jamaica, having regards to the fact that you had Hurricane Melissa and all that, were there in Guyana or somewhere else where they flew in to come and to deal with this matter, continue giving these releases and talking and believe people stupid. Jack Dio said Guyana got some very stupid people indeed. You got a lot of stupid people. Well, fortunately, most of them are aligned and they listen to Jack Dio and Nandalal and them. That is what's going on. They listen to them. But it is clear, people say that this thing is political and they try to say that. It is absolutely clear that it's political. Clear when you look at the timelines. Sanction last year, nothing happened. Nothing happened. Indictment on the 6th of October. They wait until the 24th. You tell me it's until the 30th of October before the U.S. presented this thing to you all. And you give the impression, creating the impression that it's only then you all know about this thing. You knew all along what was coming on. You knew all along. And therefore, you set up the wicket, as you would say. And don't disregard the fact that all the contra-Trump or the shenanigans in the judiciary with the chancellor and the thing, all might be linked. All might be linked. So what happened? You bring a magistrate especially to deal with this matter. Especially to deal with this matter. So you didn't know You didn't know. You bring a man straight specialty in this matter. You get lawyers from Jamaica specifically to deal with this matter, you know. And then one of your members, one of your lawyers, is making the argument that bail should not have been granted. So what really you telling us, man? You think I mean we stupid? You think we all stupid? We born at night, but not last night. We born night, but we are born last night. So let me understand this thing clearly. It was all set. It was all set. The proclamation for the last minute, right? Because today is the last constitutionally. After Parliament was dissolved on, I think, July the 4th, today is the last day that they could comply with the Constitution to have the Parliament convene. So they wait until the last one. Give themselves enough time. The lobbyists and all them doing all sort of thing. That's it. Then you go to court and you talk about you're linking the Mohammeds with Venezuelan criminals and all them type of thing. So this is what they fed to these liars. This is what they fed to the liars from Jamaica. They fed to the liars from Jamaica and caused them to make an argument about the link of Mohammed to criminals. They call them criminals, even though they have never been convicted for any crime. And I say, if we're to use the same yardstick, when a person is accused of a crime, he's referred to as a criminal, then Jack Dio and many others are criminals because they have been accused. I'm saying, listen to me carefully because I know you're all stupidity. Some of you are not referring to my students. I am saying that if you're going to use the same yardstick, the lawyer refers to they were criminals, the Mohammeds were criminals. I am not aware that the Mohammeds have been convicted for any crime. And I'm saying that if you're not convicted for crime, and the people can go into court and call you and refer to you as a criminal, they mandated were alleged criminals with ties in high offices in Venezuela and so on. I say by extension, allegation made against Jack Dio in the Sugate thing, then he's criminal too. Let me be logical about this thing. Let me be consistent and logical. Right? I remember, I'm not saying he's a criminal. Let me understand. So I know y'all is them dunce, them people who not been far and can the Dharamlal allegation made against him. So he's a criminal too, right? Then they're linking him with Venezuela and tentacles reaching across the United States of America into the Middle East. That is what was fed to these liars. And unfortunately, I say, they do their own research. It wasn't apparent that they did their own research. So they go into the court and they look stupid. But who paying for them? Who paying? The matter's put out for the 10th of November. Are you suggesting to me that these liars who made an unsuccessful bid for Mohammed and them to be remanded, you want to tell me they fly out to Guyana and they're going to fly in back for the 10th? Let me know, man, at whose expense? You see, I tell you all, I like these things, you know. I love these things. I enjoy myself. At whose expense? You brought them in. When did they come in? And in other jurisdictions, where you get the freedom of information and all them type of thing, all those things would have been made known. When they came in, how you engage with them, and all that. But before I go to the response by Azudin lawyer, let me say this, because this can take long and we're going to come back. The question was asked, how can these Jamaicans, the Jamaican lawyers, come and watch and actually practice in Guyana? There's a question was raised. You know, everybody does do your work, everybody does do the research, you all, man. I was made to understand from a reliable source that if you are representing the government, there's no need for you to be called to the bar. Let me repeat that. And in this case, the lawyers there from Jamaica are representing the Guyana government. And I was reliably informed that once that is the case, then they don't need to be admitted to the bar in Guyana to practice. Under normal circumstances, a private matter, a lawyer, you get a lawyer from anywhere, he has to be admitted to the bar in Guyana to practice. But I'm advised that because they are representing the government, there is no such requirement. That requirement is waived when you are representing the government. That is what I understand. In another jurisdiction, you'd have heard too, why is the no, well, even CARICOM free movement in a free just, sir, because this is practicing law. You can't just move. I enjoyed CARICOM free movement when I worked with Cricket West Indies, right? Because of my qualification and so on, I enjoyed that privilege of free movement. Once you show them your thing and then you fill out the necessary form and so on, you get that. But this is not about free movement. This is about being free movement, allow you to move. But in order to practice law, in order to practice medicine, you got to go in the case of the law and be admitted to practice in the particular country. In the case of medicine, you have to get a medical counsel or something to practice to allow that. I remember a case in Barbados, I was commander there. The boss, the Barbados anti-smuggling squad, had killed a man on the quarantine, say he's a smuggler, and the relatives wanted independent autopsy. And they brought in a man from Trinidad to conduct the autopsy. And then it was discovered that he did not apply to the Guyana Medical Council to be accredited to practice in Guyana, to conduct the autopsy. And I called him, and I had a conversation with him, and then he admitted that he can't practice. And then that was it. So I said, well, you can't work in Guyana as a medical professional unless you are the medical council give you the necessary permission. So let me understand it clearly, right? Let me understand clearly. So in another jurisdiction with award how much money they're being paid, because I don't think they're coming from where they are to come to work for chicken feed. I don't understand that they're coming to work for chicken feed, right? So let me bring in Miss CC. Well, CC is not in the studio. Something wrong again. I hope you get blackout. Somebody's telling me that Win just gone to Parliament, right? Win just gone to Parliament. Now let me tell you what the Syed Jujan, the lawyer representing Cyan, I think it is, said in the thing, among other things. He said, in reaction, this is reaction to what Datadin said. He said, had E. Datadin been privy to our bail application yesterday, Friday afternoon, he would not have made such a crucial error of law and misadvised his political superiors and Facebook followers. Laugh out loud. Section 3(1)(b) of the Bail Act says that bail under this act is applicable to, quote, an extraditable offense under the Fugitive Offensive Act. So Dujan is saying that it is explicit in the Fugitive in the Bail Act that even in a case where you're dealing with extradition, the person is entitled to bail. Then he goes on to say, the Mohammeds were Friday each granted $150,000 bail by Principal Magistrate Judy Lachman pending the hearing and determination of the U.S. extradition request that the Guyana government said it received on October the 30th. Mr. Datatin cited Article 139(1) that he said specifically permits the loss of liberty in extradition proceedings. Article 139(1) Guyana Constitution states, no person shall be deprived of his or her personal liberty, save as may be authorized by law, for the purpose of preventing the unlawful entry of that person into Guyana, or for the purpose of effecting an expulsion, extradition, or other lawful removal of that person from Guyana, or for the purpose of restricting that person while he or she is being conveyed through Guyana in the course of his or her extradition or removal as convicted prisoner for one country to alongside legalese. But here what he says, while Mr. Datadin said there was no previously reported case in which a magistrate hearing extradition proceeding has granted bail, Mr. Dujan recalled that earlier this year, he successfully defended Junior De Silva in extradition proceedings in which the Brazilian government had sought his extradition and Magistrate Clive Norris lawfully granted bail. Those, quote, those subjected to extradition proceedings have no unqualified hindrance to receiving bail from a magistrate, such as those accused of murder and treason. End of quote, he added. Similarly, the lawyer said Vitesh Guptar successfully defeated the extradition proceedings while he was on bail. Mr. Dujan also pointed to Section 15(2) of the Fugitive Offences Act that deals with extradition proceedings, which state that, quote, for the purpose of proceedings under this section, a court of committal shall have the like jurisdiction and power as nearly as may be including power to remand or admit to bail as a magistrate conducting a preliminary inquiry as. It is, here we say, put a lashini here now. Put a lashini. It is regrettable that Mr. Dr. Din is not au fait with the laws of bail in matters of extradition, as he likely never dealt with extradition or his practice in his practice prior. Not even the prosecutor yesterday, Friday, made such an outrageous allegation that bail in extradition matters was constitutionally prohibited and that the request for extradition rendered Mohammed's non-bailable. Even the prosecutor said in the argument, Mr. Julian even said, even if in the United States, the Mohammed will be entitled to bail for wire fraud, mail fraud, and money laundering altogether. Attorney General Andela said the next step is for the state to disclose to the defense lawyers the paperwork that was received from the U.S. so that they could prepare for hearing. Basically, what he's saying there, as I said before, let me recap briefly. Not the government, Dr. Din's position is that bail should not have been granted. So if you expect, remember he's a senior legal man with the PVP, member of parliament to be sworn in today. He was a member of parliament in the last parliament. So if he is saying that bail should not be granted, then when Azudin Mohammed was arrested and his father on Friday, the expectation was that they would not have been granted bail, they would have remanded. They would have been remanded. And if he's remanded, then I don't know how he can go to court or go to parliament to be sworn in, right? Because that was the intention all along. It is clear from the evidence that is coming. That was the intention for him to be for them to be remanded, and he can't go to parliament today, right? So I think CC is back in now. I think he had some issues there just now, yeah. I think I see CC back in the studio. Yeah. Yeah, CC, I show you heard me there. If you do any comments you wish to make at this stage.
I heard part of you there. But you know, they're fiddling with the law and they're fiddling with the constitution. And I can remember dealing with bail years ago, you know. And there's something that guided me along the line. Points to be considered before granting bail. 1. The gravity and nature of the charge. 2. The weight of evidence. 3. Status of the accused. 4. Possibility of absconding. 5. Will the granting of bail defeat the end of justice? 6. The Constitution of Guyana, Article 139.4 talks about bail. 7. The Bail Act, Section 7 of the Bail Act, 71411. And then you, the person who the application is being made to, has got to be guided by your conscience. Guided by your conscience. They bring the magistrate, a highly decorated woman. She's a diamond magistrate, you know. Clothed in diamond, she come with from diamond, she's a diamond magistrate. But things have backfire on them. And they need to look at points to be considered before granting bail. And like over, you look at the Constitution of Guyana, what the bail acts, the possibility of the person absconding, the status of the accused, the weight of evidence, the gravity and nature of the charge. And you ask, will the granting of bail defeat the ends of justice? And you need to be guided by your own conscience. That's where you need to be guided by.
All right, good. Let me the some questions are being asked and so on, you know. And the update is that the Mohammed and the Wayne Party people have arrived in Parliament. They have arrived at the place there. Let me see what can happen, because as I've said again, let me remind you, the parliament gets on the way. The leader of the Reinvest in Guyana, Azri Mohammed, made a striking entrance at the Atachong Center on Monday. Mohammed arrived in a bulletproof vehicle accompanied by his lead attorney, Syed Dujan. Notably, the vehicle is the same one previously used by President Ali in 2020. Things happening, man. More, right? What? Now, so things going on. We can done just now, so you can go to that. Now, well, let me say this: the fact that, all right, because we have said they might make move to prevent him from being sworn in today. Because remember, today he's been sworn in as a member of parliament, not no leader of the opposition. Let me understand this thing clearly. He'll be sworn in today as a member of parliament, not leader of the opposition. Then the speaker has to summon a special meeting of the opposition members for the opposition to elect a leader. Now, I have not seen anything in the Constitution which speaks to the time this has to be done. It says sometime after today. So let me watch to see what can happen then, because if, as we say, they said Nadir, they gonna come to be the leader of the opposition. Let me see what can happen. If they're gonna really, how long they're gonna take to summon this meeting to elect the leader of the opposition. How long are they gonna take? The speaker has to summon this meeting sometime after today. So there's a lot in it. Will he summon it before the 10th when Mohammeds are expected to return to court? When is meeting going to be summoned? Right? Somebody tell me this, the clerk going to do the summoning and all them type of thing. Let me see. Yeah, the first two sitting, yes, but the first sitting, Raul, is for the swearing in of the part thing. The first two, when will the second one be? We don't know. That's what I'm saying. When will be, because after today, the next sitting, I understand, or not necessarily the next sitting, a special sitting, because at that sitting, only members of the opposition will be summoned. Only members of the opposition when it comes to the election of the leader of the opposition. Government ministers are not involved in that process. Only the opposition members, the 29 opposition members, are going to be involved in that process. So let's wait and let's see, right? Let's wait and see. Now, the next thing, as I wind down this party, I can't even talk about it. I'm going to tell you something about the bombing just now. The next part is that in the statement, the Attorney General, then today's Stabrook News, in case you all want to go and read yourself, said that they are expecting during this week more requests for extradition. Hey, people, but you got to be biting. Time to look at the area. This thing want more people. Water more than corn flour. The Attorney General, Anil Nandlal, SC, MP, is saying that they are expecting more requests for extradition during this week. Now, I remember old people say that when a blind man say he gonna pelt you, he don't get the brick in the hand already. Remember that? Old people say when blind man say he gonna pelt you, he don't get the brick in the hand already. Right? They also say, be careful what you wish for. And they also say, when you dig an hole, dig two. When you dig hole for your mati, dig two. One for them or one for yourself. Right? Now, let me say this. An extradition request, as far as I'm aware, an extradition request can only be made for persons who have been indicted or charged in the U.S. And as far as we are aware at this stage, it's only the Mohammeds have been indicted. Is the Attorney General suggesting that others have been indicted and the indictment might be under seal? Is that what you're suggesting, sir? Because you can come and try to intimidate and all that. But we ain't gonna laid bare. You cannot make a request for an extradition unless the person is charged or indicted, as we say. So in the case of the Mohammeds, indicted, we know that, on seal. But they have a case in the US where they might have sealed indictments. But I would think that before the request for extradition is made, it has to be unsealed. So we have to know who these people are. Can remember in the indictment, I have a copy of the indictment somewhere. They talk about the Mohammeds and persons unknown, others known. They said they know the others. Some known and some unknown. So we can very well conclude that this additional request for extradition that the Attorney General is talking about got to be those persons, the known persons. Because you can't make a request to unknown persons, right? You can't make a request to unknown persons. So people body got to be biting. They got to be biting. Because if the Attorney General is speaking the truth, which is something strange, the truth is not associated with some people in the PVP, right? But if what the Attorney General is saying is true, then one can expect unsealed indictments shortly, or other grand jury proceedings. He said this week he was definitive, and as I said before, if blind man say he can pelt you, that's what people say. When blind man say he can pelt you, he don't get the brick in the hand already. So if Nandalal say other requests will be made for indictment, he must have seen it already. Like how he must have seen this thing about Azzuddin Mohammed, so they can retain lawyers from Jamaica, so they can bring the magistrate from Diamond to give her the authority in Georgetown to conduct. Nandalal, we big, but we ain't stupid, you know. Don't follow your boss, Jagdio, and believe all of we stupid. We are not. All of us are not stupid. All of us are not stupid. All of us went to school August Monday, right? So we can understand some of these things. And there are more things. There are more things. But as I said, 2 o'clock is Parliament, and we can try to close off just then. We have more to talk about this thing, more to talk. And one of the questions I want to ask you, when I tell you this whole thing is political, this thing, I'm asking this question because I genuinely don't know. In the Guyana judicial system, who assigns magistrate? Who is responsible for the assigning of magistrate? So the fact that this magistrate from Diamond was assigned to the Georgetown Magistrate Court to conduct this extradition proceedings, who would have done that? Is it the Chancellor? Is it the Chief Justice? Who? I don't know. I really don't know, because it will show that I would think that all of those persons are aware of what is going on. All aware, right? There are so many questions. So when people say that this thing is political, and the jump over say, oh, not the political, it's the U.S. government. And the U.S. government, yes, they would have done the thing. You get your lobbyists in Washington brought in this thing about the link to Venezuela and all these other things. So let me know. Right? So again, I say, before I bring in CC to comment and to wrap up, I know you get a lot about it today, but we can make that up. Who assigns this magistrate? And let's see what will happen in Parliament. Again, I say to you, Azzuddin Mohammed is not going to be the leader of the opposition today. That process does not take place on the first sitting. The first sitting today, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, swearing in. Will he be swearing in? I will he be sworn in? I suspect if he's there, that he is going to be sworn in. Right? Somebody is telling me the Chief Justice is the person who assigns the magistrate. So I said the Chief Justice. I'm telling you all, this is a big, my belief. You can't stop me from having my belief. It's a big conspiracy. All the things fitting into pieces here. The only thing in this whole conspiracy here is the surprise that these people were granted bail. Big shock and surprise that they were granted bail, that they were never expected bail would have been granted. So let me see how this is going to play out. Let me bring in CC to make his comments and to give a little closing. CC?
Yeah, Paul, things winding up. And the whole thing is political. And then you, long before, that who would have been indicted. And as they said, person known and unknown. If they get the indictment on Friday, and in labor time with breakneck speed, three lawyers from Jamaica find themselves in Guyana when the hurricane was circling in Jamaica and pouring down in Jamaica, destroying Jamaica. Perhaps, perhaps, the hurricane Melissa was so strong that it took the plane carrying them from Jamaica straight to Guyana, without any problem. The hurricane brought them, safe and sound. And so many different things, that they come up with. And the more they talk, the more they committing themselves. And it's lies and still more lies. Lies and still more lies. And rush the magistrate from Diamond to Georgetown. I know on what authority. I would like to see that document. I remember once I was the mas- the director of public prosecution when I was commando. She gave me the authority to go to High Court and represent a matter. I remember that. I had a Fiat. I had a Fiat, and I went there just shortly before I came off. And then when I came off, I think around talk. I said, well, who you gonna get to go to question, Mr. Conway? I said, take the president commission, Mr. Conway. Oh, I can do that. She said, I got to get somebody from Georgetown to travel to Borbis and do the matters. I can't use you anymore because you're no longer police. So the whole thing is that is corruption, is that they want to get Azuddin and the Mohammeds, they want to get them out of this country. And I won't be surprised if rendition, come into play. And moving on from the Mohammeds, I hope all the stuff going on in the police force, the training department, where sex is full scale, sex and buggery full scale. Same thing in region number one. All the financial irregularities that are happening, and that here OP are investigating, and then things is going to crash, and perhaps crash in a massive way. Hope that I am wrong.
All right, brother. Thank you very much, and again, speedy recovery. Let me go to this. One, I gotta share this with y'all for today. It would be remiss of me if I did not bring this to attention. We had the bombing Sunday. We had some issues to deal with that. Not today. Because today we have to be talking about this imminent swearing in and all of that. But there's another video circulating. Let me show y'all it and then a comment. I should have showed it before. Mr. Carvey, please look so you might be called on to say something. This is a video circulated of a man, they say Spanish speaking, who went into some establishment, put on those 2 big bags and left them there and walk out. The question is what was in those bags? And I say this to say, not to scare people, but to say that you have to be very alert. We all have to be alert. You see something, as they say in New York, you see something, say something. It looked like those gentlemen in the facility there, they were alert enough to realize that this man left something there. That couldn't be, if you see, we're going to deal with it at the next program, that couldn't be that something they just forget. It looked like he walked there and he put it down there deliberately and left it there. Be alert, folks. Be extremely alert. Be extremely alert about your surroundings, right? And as I've said, I'm gonna boss off, because I really want to see what's going on, follow what's going on. You see, I just like in Parliament, I gotta go and see what's really going on and so on, so they can update you on what is happening in our dear land. So, folks, we are due to reach again on Wednesday. Don't forget the time change. It's gonna be 11 o'clock Eastern time, 12 o'clock Guyana time for another episode of Speaking Out. And this is God's willing. Everything is in the hands of the Almighty. If He is willing, we got to meet you again here on Friday and on Wednesday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 12 o'clock Guyana time for another episode of Speaking Out, exposing corruption and incompetence. Until then, I say keep following the page, Speaking Out. Keep following, because if we have to come here at any time to break any news or to bring you update or to analyze any situation, we're going to do that. If something dramatic happens between now and Wednesday, we're going to do that. So subscribe to the channel so you can get notification and keep follow. So until we meet, God's willing, on Wednesday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 12 o'clock Guyana time, be well, stay good, bye.